Teachings of Hate and Peace. Social Studies, Period 8. Victor Navarro. Who is recognized more? People who teach peace or people who teach hate? Is Osama bin Laden remembered more for his crimes against the country or Martin Luther King Jr. for his stance on equality? Based on the theory that people who teach hate are remembered more than people who teach peace, I will attempt to persuade you to believe the same. My first person is Osama bin Laden. He is remembered for his teachings of hate and cruelty, for differences in religion. Born in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, between 1957 or 1958, records unclear, and died on May 2, 2011. With the Middle East having a strong Islamic force, it was more than just a religion. It shaped bin Laden's political beliefs and influenced every decision he made. During his college years in the 1970s, he became a follower of the radical pan-Islamist scholar Abdullah Azzam. Azzam believed that all Muslims should rise up in jihad, known as holy war, to create a single Islamic state. This type of teaching brought on a hatred of others that did not follow or agree with Azzam, or the extreme beliefs he shared. These teachings influenced bin Laden and the crimes he committed to the country. Bin Laden has been quoted saying, "We love death. The U.S. loves life." That's the difference between us. Another person remembered and recognized for hate is Adolf Hitler. Born in Australia on April 20th, 1889, he is responsible for the genocide of around 6 million Jewish men, women, and children, and those who did not fall under his Aryan race. Hitler tried to remove anyone he deemed unable to contribute to society in a productive manner. At that time, that was roughly 2/3 of the European Jewish population. During Nazi rule, the final solution was implanted to consist of gassing, shootings, and acts of terror. This led to starvation and disease among the Jewish and European population. It is unclear how Hitler came to originate the final solution, but because of his actions, this time in history will never be forgotten. Albert Einstein, born March 14, 1879, and died in 1955. Albert Einstein rewrote the laws of nature. His theories and teachings changed the way we thought about the behavior of things such as light, gravity, and time. During his teachings across the world, Albert Einstein became a forceful advocate for a new world and a new social vision. He pushed nations to apply internationalism, pacifism, and Zionism. His manifesto to the European was drafted to teach pacifistic and anti-nationalistics to different nations and countries. This manifesto argued very much against the spirit of the times. Quoting the manifesto, "The struggle raging today will likely produce no victor. It will leave probably only the vanquished. Therefore, it seems not only good, but rather bitterly necessary that educated men of all nations marshal their influence such that, whether the still uncertain end of war may be, the terms of peace shall not become the wellspring of future wars." From Atlanta, Georgia, Martin Luther King Jr. was a Baptist minister and social activist who played a key role in the American Civil Rights Movement from the mid-1950s until his assassination in 1968. He was a true leader, being a believer of nonviolent methods of protest. Martin Luther King Jr. had struggled a lot to compare to other civil rights activists because he was dealing with the day-to-day mistreatment of minorities. He lived the same struggle they did, being a minority himself. A lot of his teachings and experiences came from his family, and his father was a pastor. His assassination shook the nation to its core. He paved the way for other activists to peacefully protest and educate the world. He already made it clear that violence is peace never the answer. To quote his I Have a Dream speech, in a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to whichever American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In closing, I ask you again, are people who teach hate remembered more than people who teach peace? Based on the information provided, it would seem that hate is remembered far more clearly than peace. In a perfect world, we would learn from our world's history to ensure we do not make the same mistake. The examples I used for hate are clearly remembered more vividly than the examples for peace. You can ask someone where they were for the I Have a Dream speech, and you may have a few vague details of that day. Ask someone where they were for the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and that day is embedded in our brains.